Hello and welcome to Sabha TV. You're watching News Tonight with the host Rajya. Let's take a look at the top stories of the day. Well, starting right at the beginning, the Union Cabinet chaired by Prime Minister Narendra Modi has approved the launching of National Programme for Civil Service Capacity Building, Mission Karmyogi. The scheme is being termed as biggest human resource development reform in the government. Here are the details.
The Union Cabinet has approved Mission Karmyogi, a scheme to bring post-recruitment reforms in the civil services. Announcing the move, Union Minister Prakash Javadekar said, the scheme will provide opportunity to officers and government employees to improve their performance. An HR council headed by the Prime Minister will approve and monitor civil service capacity building plans. An integrated government online training, I Got Karmayogi platform will be used for implementation of the scheme. A capacity building commission will be set up to harmonize training standards, create shared faculty and resources, and have supervisory role over all central training institutions. The mission will have a total outlay of 510 crore rupees over a period of 5 years.
भर्ती होने के बाद विभिन्न कर्मचारी अधिकारी उनकी लगातार क्षमतावर्धन कैसे हो, कार्यक्षमता कैसे बढ़े, इसके बारे में और वो प्रभावी कैसे, कारगर कैसे साबित हो, इसके लिए क्षमतावर्धन का एक लगातार कार्यक्रम चलेगा और उसका नाम कर्मयोगी योजना है। तो ये एक बेहद ही महत्वपूर्ण सुधार है और 21वें सदी का सरकार के मानव संसाधन का सुधार का एक बहुत बड़ा ये सुधार कहला जाएगा।
The Union Cabinet has also approved a bill to make Kashmiri, Dogri and Hindi, apart from the existing Urdu and English official languages in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. The Jammu and Kashmir Official Languages Bill 2020 is likely to be introduced in Parliament in the upcoming monsoon session.
The inclusion of Dogri, Hindi and Kashmiri in addition to the other two existing languages as official languages for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, I would just suffice in saying that it is not only a fulfillment of a long pending public demand of the region, but also in keeping with the spirit of equality which ushered after the 5th of August 2019.
The Cabinet also approved an MOU for cooperation with Finland in the field of geology and mineral resources. Another MOU between India and Japan for cooperation in the field of good quality textiles was also cleared. With inputs from Navikram Singh, Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
The 252nd session of Rajya Sabha will commence on Monday, that is 14th September. Now, in the view of present situation due to COVID-19 pandemic, the chairman of Rajya Sabha has made certain exceptions in the procedure. There will be no question hour and private members' business during this session.
In view of the prevailing situation due to the COVID-19 pandemic, summons for the session commencing on 14th of September have been issued through email only. Unless otherwise notified, the time of sittings of the Rajya Sabha during the 252nd session will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. except on 14th of September 2020, the first day of the session when the House will meet from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be no question hour and private members' business during the session. A member who wishes to raise a matter of urgent public importance on a particular day should give notice of his or her intention to the chairman after 12 noon till 8 p.m. on the previous day and should indicate in the notice a synopsis of the matter that he or she wishes to raise, justifying therein its urgency and importance. The admitted matters may be raised immediately after the laying of papers and conclusion of other business of formal nature during the first half an hour of a sitting. No member shall be allowed to make more than one submission as matter raised with permission in a week. Not more than 2 notices of a calling attention may be given by a member for one sitting. A member who initiates a calling attention notice should not take more than 7 minutes, and other members who are called by the chairman should not take more than 5 minutes each and should restrict themselves strictly to seeking clarifications on the calling attention. For special mentions, notice should be accompanied by a text of the matter to be mentioned not exceeding 250 words. A member should not give more than 2 such notices for one sitting. In view of the present circumstances due to the COVID-19 pandemic, members are requested to submit the notices required by the rules only through the e-notices portal as far as possible to avoid physical handling of papers and visits to notice office. The existing practice of receiving notices in physical forms in the notice office will continue. Members are informed that as per established practice, notices given or transmitted by them by fax are not admissible and therefore shall not be entertained by the Secretariat. This is Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
The Parliamentary Affairs Minister Prahlad Joshi has said that he, along with Ministers Arjun Ram Meghwal and V. Muralidharan, have spoken to every party regarding question hour being dropped in the upcoming monsoon session. He also said that regarding 0 hour, the final decision will be taken by Business Advisory Committee.
तृणमूल कांग्रेस के राज्यसभा के नेता डेरिक ओबरायन के अलावा सब पार्टी के नेता, जब हमने बात की, उन्होंने क्वेश्चन आवर डिस्पेंसेशन करने का, सस्पेंड करने के लिए उन्होंने एग्री हुआ है। जो कुछ भी बीएसी में डिसाइड होगा वो सब इशू के चर्चा के करने के लिए गवर्नमेंट तैयार है। उसमें हमको कोई हमारे इसमें मन में शक भी नहीं है और हेजिटेशन भी नहीं है। हम 0 आवर के हम टालने का कभी भी हम रिक्वेस्ट स्पीकर या चेयरमैन से हम नहीं किया है। जहाँ जब जिस दिन स्पीकर और चेयरमैन डिसाइड करेगा उस दिन 0 आवर होगा। अनस्टार क्वेश्चन के लिए भी सरकार ओपन माइंडेड है और हमने रिक्वेस्ट भी किया है शेड्यूल निकालने के लिए और सभी पार्टी के साथ हमारा पूरा बातचीत हुआ है।
Now, Facebook India's head Ajit Mohan appeared before Parliamentary Standing Committee on Information Technology on Wednesday over alleged misuse of social media platform.
The panel, headed by senior Congress leader Shashi Tharoor, had called representatives of Facebook to hear their views on safeguarding citizens' rights and prevention of misuse of social online news media platforms, including special emphasis on women's security in the digital space. The panel has also called representatives of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology on the same issue. The Rajya Sabha Standing Committee on Petitions gave final shape to a crucial report on forecasting of floods in a meeting on Wednesday. The petition requesting development of real-time forecasting of floods so as to issue timely warning was sent to Rajya Sabha by Professor Raj Kachru. The committee, headed by Prasanna Acharya, also approved the action taken report on the 156th report on strengthening the POCSO Act 2012 with some amendments. The Standing Committee on Coal and Steel today discussed the issue of the environment and forest clearance process in the mining sector. Coal Secretary Anil Kumar and Secretary in the Forest Ministry R.P. Gupta gave a presentation before the ministry. Standing Committee on Petroleum and Natural Gas discussed international cooperation in the petroleum sector. The meeting of the committee, headed by Ramesh Biduri, went on for nearly 2 hours.
Now, India on Wednesday banned 118 mobile applications, including popular mobile gaming app PUBG. The apps were banned, citing concerns of data security after fresh tension between India and China in border areas in eastern Ladakh.
In an official statement, the government said the banned mobile applications are prejudicial to the sovereignty, integrity and defense of India and public order. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology had received several complaints from various sources, including reports about misuse of some mobile apps available on the Android and iOS platforms. The complaints allege stealing and transmitting users' data in an unauthorized manner to servers that possibly had locations outside India. The statement said the compilation of these data, its mining and profiling by elements hostile to national security and defense of India, which ultimately impinges upon the sovereignty and integrity of India, is a matter of very deep and immediate concern which requires emergency measures. Earlier in June, the centre had banned 59 mostly Chinese mobile applications such as TikTok, UC Browser and WeChat.
Well, the centre has announced the SOPs for metro operations. Metro service will resume from 7th of September. Now, in a graded manner, wearing of masks will be mandatory for all passengers and staff. Metro Rail Corporation may make arrangements for supply of masks on payment basis to persons arriving at metro station without a mask. Only asymptomatic persons will be allowed to travel after thermal screening at the station's entry point.
The Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs on Wednesday announced guidelines for metro operations. These include metros having more than one line should open different lines starting 7th September in a graded manner so that all corridors become operational by 12th September. The daily hours of operations may be staggered initially, which needs to be increased gradually with resumption of full revenue service by 12th September. The frequency of trains is to be regulated to avoid passenger crowding at stations and also in trains. Stations and entry-exit gates in containment zones will remain closed. In order to ensure social distancing, suitable markings at stations and inside trains is to be done. Provision of sanitizers will be made at entry point of stations for passenger use. Sanitization of all areas having human interface, including equipment, train, working area, lift, escalators, handrail, AFC gate, toilets needs to be done at regular intervals. Use of smart card and cashless or online transactions will be encouraged. Tokens and paper slips and ticket will be used with proper sanitization.
It goes without saying that only asymptomatic persons will be allowed to travel after thermal screening at entry into the stations. Symptomatic persons will be advised to go to the nearby or the nearest COVID care center or hospital for testing and medical attention. We will encourage the use of the Arogya Setu app. Provisions of sanitizers will be made at the point of entry into the stations for use by passengers.
Operation of heating, ventilation and air conditioning system will be as per the Central Public Works Department and Indian Society of Heating, Refrigerating and Air Conditioning Engineers guidelines. Intake of fresh air in air conditioning system will be increased to the extent possible. There are 17 metro corporations in the country. With the issuing of these detailed SOPs, they can now release their own guidelines keeping in mind local requirements. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Now a look at COVID-19 situation in a country where total cases are now nearing 38 lakhs. India recorded over 78,000 new cases in 24 hours ending Wednesday morning.
Single-day spike of 78,357 cases has pushed India's coronavirus infections to over 37.6 lakh. 1,045 more deaths were reported in the last 24 hours, taking the total death count to 66,333. Over 29 lakh patients have recovered so far, pushing the recovery rate to 76.98%. There are over 8 lakh active cases in the country. 10 lakh samples were tested for the infection on Tuesday for the second straight day. According to the ICMR, over 4.43 crore samples have been tested so far. Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Uttar Pradesh are the 5 states which reported the highest number of cases and deaths in the last 24 hours. These states are also the worst affected in the country. These states, along with Delhi, West Bengal, Bihar, Telangana, Assam and Odisha, have 82% of the country's total caseload. But the infection is spreading in other states as well. Jharkhand registered its highest single-day spike of 3,331 COVID-19 cases, which pushed its total to 41,769. The death toll rose to 423 after 13 more people died on Tuesday. The number of cases in Ladakh rose to 2,733, with 52 more people testing positive for the infection. The death toll there is 35. 18 more people tested positive for COVID-19 in Sikkim, taking the total infections to 1,670. The state has 429 active cases at present, while 1,237 people have recovered. In Meghalaya, 72 more people, including 7 security personnel, tested positive for COVID-19, taking the state's tally to 2,440. 12 people have died so far. Meghalaya currently has 1,193 active cases. Delhi reported its highest single-day spike in coronavirus cases in nearly 2 months on Tuesday. The capital reported 2,312 fresh coronavirus cases and 18 deaths in the last 24 hours, taking the total to over 1.77 lakh. A seroprevalence survey in Chennai shows that 1/5 of the population has been exposed to the coronavirus infection. 12,000 samples were tested between 18th and 28th of July, out of which 2,673 individuals had evidence of past SARS-CoV-2. Tamil Nadu has reported 4,33,969 coronavirus cases so far. Globally, older people above the age of 50 are the most vulnerable to the virus. In India, 54% of the total coronavirus cases are among people between 18 and 44 years of age, while 51% deaths are among people aged 60 and above. 36% of the fatalities reported are in the age group of 45 to 60 years, 11% in the age group of 26 to 44 years, and 1% each among people aged 18 to 25 years and those below 17 years. Twice as many men have died of the coronavirus disease as women in India, with men accounting for 69% of all fatalities. While the global COVID fatality rate is 3.3%, the fatality rate in India is 1.76%. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
COVID-19 infection continued to rise worldwide on Wednesday, with total cases nearing 26 million. Now, over 8.6 lakh people have died. Of the global tally, over 18.2 lakh people have recovered so far.
The United States continues at the top of the list with more than 6.2 million infections and nearly 1.89 lakh deaths. In Brazil, President Jair Bolsonaro has extended the COVID-19 welfare program. Under the scheme, low-income Brazilians will continue to receive stipends until the end of the year. Brazil has nearly 4 million cases and more than 1.22 lakh deaths. Colombia is loosening its anti-COVID-19 restrictions, allowing a reopening of its economy. Indoor public places like shopping malls, restaurants and cafes have been allowed to operate at reduced capacity, while work in the catering and aviation industries has also resumed. The country has more than 6,15,000 coronavirus infections and nearly 20,000 deaths. Cuba also eased lockdown restrictions, allowing reopening of schools. With hand sanitizer and face masks, thousands of students returned to classrooms on Wednesday. In Europe, countries are placing anti-coronavirus measures to minimize contagion in schools. On Tuesday, many schools reopened for a new academic term in Britain.
I like that I see my friends, and also whenever you're at home, you don't really understand as much whenever you're at school.
Lots of good things about being back at school, getting to see my friends and just getting to play with my mates again.
French children also returned to their classes under new anti-coronavirus measures. Students aged 11 and above must wear face masks at all times, including indoors, while social distancing, ventilation and disinfecting classrooms must be ensured by schools. Over 4 million students returned to school in Poland on Tuesday. Students are exempted from wearing masks in classrooms, even as social distancing remains in place. In Spain, schools have mandated masks for children over 6, and students and staff will have their temperature checked on arrival. Students across China were also excited about reunion with classmates and teachers as schools resumed classes on Tuesday. Hong Kong is relaxing some COVID-19 restrictions following a drop in new cases. From Friday, gyms, massage parlors, some sports grounds and playgrounds will be allowed to reopen. Restaurants will be allowed to extend dine-in services until 10 p.m. However, ban on gatherings of more than 2 people will remain in place. Meanwhile, Australia has entered its first recession in nearly 30 years, with the GDP falling 7% in the second quarter due to the shutdowns. It has now joined the United States, Japan, UK and Germany, which are all in recession. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine has entered phase 3 clinical trials in United States.
The trials will involve nearly 30,000 participants. The company is looking for a fast-track approval of the vaccine in the US if the initial data from phase 3 trials is favorable. The vaccine is also undergoing final stage testing in other countries including India, Brazil, England and South Africa. In another development, head of Russia's Liberal Democratic Party, Vladimir Zhirinovsky, received Russia's coronavirus vaccine Sputnik V in Moscow on Tuesday. The 74-year-old parliamentarian said he was doing well after being vaccinated. Russia is conducting phase 3 trials of the vaccine involving a large group of volunteers. Mass vaccination of high-risk groups is scheduled for November-December. Russia is also preparing to approve a second COVID-19 vaccine in late September or early October. Over 30 vaccines are in various stages of clinical development globally. 6 of them are in the final stage of human trials.
A day after Railway permitted NEET and JEE candidates to avail special suburban services in Mumbai on exam days, the National Transporter has now decided to run 20 pair of special trains from 2nd of September to 15 for convenience of those appearing for these exams in the state of Bihar.
Announcing the move, Railway Minister Piyush Goyal said that the facility will also be extended to students appearing for the National Defence Academy examination. The East Central Railway, in a press release, said the stations en route will have unreserved ticket counters and tickets can also be bought on the UTS mobile ticketing app. While the national eligibility cum entrance test is scheduled to be held on 13th of September, engineering entrance exam JEE main is underway and will end on 6th of September. The common NDA 2020 exam is scheduled to be held on 6th of September.
Well, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday left for Moscow to take part in Shanghai Cooperation Organization Defence Ministers meeting.
Before his departure, Rajnath Singh took to Twitter saying he will be attending the combined meeting of defence ministers of SCO, Collective Security Treaty Organization and CIS members in commemoration of the 75th anniversary of victory in World War II. The defence ministers of all 8 SCO member nations are expected to deliberate on regional security challenges like terrorism and extremism and ways to deal with them collectively. The SCO has emerged as one of the largest trans-regional international organizations, which accounts for almost 44% of the world's population. India and Pakistan became members of the SCO in 2017. Rajnath Singh also tweeted that he will meet Russia's Defence Minister General Shoigu on the sidelines to discuss bilateral cooperation and issues of mutual interest. India and Russia are privileged strategic partners. Singh added that he was looking forward to furthering this partnership during the visit. He is likely to press Russia for early supply of various weapons and spares to the Indian armed forces under defence contracts concluded earlier. The SCO meet is taking place at a time when the border row between India and China, two of the bloc's key members, has been escalating. The Indian Army recently thwarted an attempt by the Chinese Army to transgress into Indian areas near the southern bank of Pangong Tso Lake near Chushul in Ladakh on the intervening night of 29th and 30th of August. However, there is no plan for a bilateral meeting between Singh and Chinese Defence Minister General Wei Fenghe. This will be Singh's second visit to Moscow since June. He had represented India at the Victory Day parade in Moscow on 24th of June to commemorate the 75th anniversary of Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in the Second World War. Singh will depart from Moscow on the evening of 5th of September. Russia has also invited External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar to attend the SCO Foreign Ministers meeting on 10th of September.
Well, in a first, a women IPS officer has been appointed as Inspector General of Central Reserve Police Force or CRPF in Srinagar sector in Jammu and Kashmir.
IPS officer Charu Sinha on Tuesday created history as she became the first ever female officer to be appointed as IG of the CRPF for Srinagar sector. An order was issued by the CRPF headquarters on Monday. The officer was till now serving as the CRPF IG in Jammu. Sinha, an IPS officer from the 1996 batch Telangana cadre, has been a part of numerous anti-Naxal operations in the past during her stint as IG in the Bihar sector. The Srinagar sector, which started functioning in 2005, never had a female officer at the IG level. The Srinagar sector comprises Budgam, Ganderbal and Srinagar districts and the Union Territory of Ladakh. Charu Sinha is going to head all operations involved in Srinagar sector.
The Supreme Court on Wednesday continued final hearing on a batch of petitions seeking interest waiver on loan moratorium granted by Reserve Bank of India.
The bench headed by Justice Ashok Bhushan was told that paying interest on interest is a double whammy for borrowers. The petitioner assailed the accrual of interest on EMIs even during the moratorium period, saying that banks are free to restructure loans, but they cannot penalize honest borrowers by charging interest on deferred EMI payments under the moratorium scheme during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Centre and the RBI had on Tuesday told the Apex Court that moratorium period on repayment of loans during the COVID-19 pandemic is extendable by 2 years and several steps have been taken to help the stressed sectors. The Centre also told the top court that waiver of interest on deferred EMIs during the moratorium period would be against the basic canons of finance and unfair to those who repaid loans as per schedule. The Supreme Court will resume hearing the case at 2 p.m. on 3rd of September. The RBI had in March announced a moratorium on repayment of term deposits for 3 months, which was later extended till 31st of August. The move was intended to provide relief to borrowers during the ongoing pandemic.
Well, in a major crackdown against fake news, social media giant Facebook has suspended 453 Pakistani accounts on platform that were engaged in manufacturing misinformation.
Along with the 453 Facebook accounts, 103 Facebook pages, 78 groups and 107 Instagram accounts operating from Pakistan have also been suspended under the same charges. These accounts were handled by Pakistani operatives to spread anti-India propaganda. Facebook also revealed that many of these Pakistani accounts were claiming to be based in India. Their content focused on memes and propaganda around social and political issues in Pakistan and India. Further, they were also used to spread vicious content and fake news centered around maligning India's social fabric. The network was found by Stanford Internet Observatory during an internal investigation into suspected coordination of inauthentic behavior in the region. A day earlier, Union Law Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad had written a letter to Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg saying Facebook community guidelines must acknowledge Indian ethos and asking for country-specific community guidelines.
In a bid to fight misinformation on its platform and to put an end to user query about trending topics, Twitter is now rolling out a new feature that would add post descriptions to trending hashtags.
The social media company has announced it will add pinned tweets and descriptions on trends to help explain why something is trending on its platform. With the new feature, Twitter users would see brief descriptions added to some trends as well to help add context to the trending topics. The platform's curation team is going to use a combination of algorithms to determine if a tweet represents a trend by evaluating if it is reflective of the trend. The microblogging site added, people tweeted 500,000 times over the last year to understand why a certain topic was trending. Earlier in July, Twitter got rid of several accounts that were misusing trends to peddle conspiracy theories on the platform. Trends are Twitter's way of letting users know which topics in their country are most talked about.
Well, that's it in News Tonight. Thanks for watching Rajya Sabha TV. Keep watching Rajya Sabha TV for more national and international stories. Good night.